Hey everyone, Cody from Mac Telecom Networks. In this video, we're going to do a full setup and config of Unifi Talk. So this will be a Unifi Talk 2023 series. If anything else new comes out in 2023, we will do updated videos for that. I did a full series on Unifi Talk in 2022, but Ubiquiti has brought a lot of new features to it. So we're going to end up creating a new voice network. We're going to be tagging some switch ports for the voice network, and then we're going to be adopting our Talk phones. We'll also purchase a Unifi Talk subscription, and we'll set up with a third-party SIP provider. If you'd like to support my channel, the best way to do so is to hit the subscribe button. I'm trying to get to 100,000 subscribers. If you'd like to hire me for network consulting, you can visit mactelecomnetworks.com. And I also have affiliate links down in the description below. So first, before anything, let's take a look at my topology and what I'll be using. I was originally going to be using a UDM-SC to do that, but I realized that I was on an early access version, so we can't. But I'm using the UDR as my Talk console. You can see that the UDR is plugged into internet, and then we have a USW 16 PoE switch. Plugged into the 16 port PoE switch, we have a Touch Max, which is unlocked, and we'll talk about locked and unlocked in a minute. I have an ATA, and that's plugging into an analog VTech phone. I have a white unlocked touch phone, and then I have a flex phone. So I'm not going to do any close-ups of the phones. I did another video of that, and I will put that down below as well. But let's talk about locked and unlocked and what the differences are. So first off, we could see that the unlocked phones are quite a bit more money. If we're looking at the Touch Max, it's $299 USD. If we're looking at the phone Touch Max, and this is the locked version, it's $129. Same goes for the phone Touch. So with the locked phones, you need to have a Unifi Talk subscription assigned to it. So if you have 10 locked phones, you're going to need 10 of these Talk subscriptions, which are $9.99 a month. And if we click on the phone Touch Max, we can see here it says this phone must be assigned to a user with an active personal Unifi Talk phone number and have an internet connection to function. Now, if we look back at the phone Touch Max unlocked, it's $299, but this doesn't require a Unifi Talk subscription. So this says this unlocked model can be assigned to a user that shares a phone number with a group. So we could buy one Unifi Talk subscription and then share that over all 10 of our phones, or how many ever we have. And you could also assign this to a third-party SIP provider if you want to go that way. With the locked version, we can't assign it to a third-party SIP. So you just need to be aware of that. One other thing to be aware of, as of February 6, 2023, when I'm doing this video, Unifi Talk is only available in the United States. Hopefully it's coming to Canada and Europe soon. All right, now we're over at the network controller, and I'm going to create a voice network for Unifi Talk. I'm going to click on the settings wheel, and then we're going to go over to networks. From networks, I just have this main default, but we're going to create a new network. I'm going to call it Unifi Talk. I'm going to uncheck auto scale, and then I'm going to put it on 192.168.22.1. I'm going to check on manual and then put it in VLAN ID of 22, and then we're going to apply the network. Now you can see the Unifi Talk network has been created. If we go back to my devices, I have nothing plugged into the USW 16 PoE currently. So I'm going to plug all the phones in, and then we'll put it in the proper network. Okay, and now we can see some of the ports that are lighting up. 3 of them are getting PoE, and the ATA isn't getting PoE. I'm powering it up by USB-C. We can also see up top that it says new Talk device detected. Please set up Unifi Talk to adopt your devices. But before we do that, we're going to go into Port Manager. And then I'm going to select all of these 4 ports. I'm just going to click on them. And then we're going to go down to Port Profile. And this is where we assign the voice VLAN. So I'll click on Port Profile, and then we'll go down to Unifi Talk. We'll press Apply Changes, and then confirm. Now, if we want our phones to get an IP quicker, the ones that are PoE, we could click on the device, and then we could do a port power cycle and then press confirm. This will just make it go a little bit faster. If you don't do this, they will still get an IP out of the Unifi Talk network. Now, with all the devices into our new Talk network, we need to set up Unifi Talk. Within the UDR, we're only allowed to have 2 applications running at once. So I have network and I have Talk. You could also run Talk on the UDM Pro, the UDM SE, the Unifi Dream Walls when they release, as well as the Unifi Cloud Key Gen 2 Plus. So I'm going to click on the setup button for Unifi Talk. Now it says, welcome to Unifi Talk. We need to agree to the privacy and terms. and then press start setup. It's saying we've detected a previous install, which I have had it on my UDM SE, but we're not going to migrate those over. We're going to start fresh. So I'm going to press new and then next. Now we're at the setup device page, and we can see that I have my Talk ATA, we have the Touch Max, and then we have the Flex. At the bottom, we can see Unifi Talk subscriptions for 4 numbers will amount to $39.96 per month, but we don't need that. We only need one phone number to work over all 4 of these devices. So currently I only have one user within this UDR. I'm going to assign it to the UTP Touch, and that will be myself, Cody McCallum, and the rest will just set to none. We currently don't have any talk numbers, and I'm just going to press next. Now this next section is for emergency services information. So you need to put your address, the city, the state, province, and the zip code. So I'm going to do that and then press next. Now we're in Unifi Talk, and we could see that the Touch White is now active, and we could see it's assigned to me and it's given me a number. The reason I have a number, it's a 15-day trial that Ubiquiti gives to me. And we could also see that there's an update. So I'm going to update the phone. These other 3 phones, we need to assign them to a user. And before we could do that, we need to create some users. So let's go ahead and do that. On the left-hand pane, we could see users and group. In the top right corner, I'm going to add a user. This first user we'll call YouTube, and the last name will be test1. We're not going to give it an email or a number, but we can give it an extension of 0002 and then press add. Okay, so we're going to create 3 more users. It will follow the same format. So it will be YouTube, and then it will be test2. No users, but we'll give them an extension of 0003. And the last one will be YouTube, test3, and extension 0004, and then we'll press add. Now we could go back to our device page, and then we could click on one of our phones. So I'll click on the Touch Max, and we're going to assign this device. Now we have the option to assign it to different users that we've created. So I'll hit the drop down menu, and we'll put this one on YouTube test1, and then we're going to do none for internal calls only just for now. Now I'll go over to the Flex. We're going to assign this device as well, and we'll give this to test2. For the ATA, we're going to give this to test3. And within the ATA, it has 2 analog ports, so we could have 2 different users assigned to this, but I only have 1 phone connecting, and then we'll press assign. As it stands right now, the only phone that could make outbound calls is the UTP Touch White, which has a number assigned to it. All of these other phones are internal calls only. So right now I have the analog phone, and if I dial an extension of 0003, it will call another phone in our environment. So I'll type that in, 0003, and then I'll put it on speaker. And we should hear the Flex phone go off shortly. And now you could hear the Flex phone going off. I'm going to keep talking so that my noise gate doesn't cut out, but you should be able to hear that there. Another way that you could tell that the phone calls worked, we could go back to our dashboard, and then we could look at the call log. So here we could see YouTube test3, which is my ATA, connected to that analog phone, was calling YouTube test2, which is the Flex phone. And I did cancel the calls by picking up the receiver and hanging up, but it did work. Now we have one of the phones being able to make outbound calls and the rest of them being able to do internal calls. But we really want all of the phones to be able to reach externally and internally. So what we need to do, we need to create a group. So we'll go back to users and groups. And from here, we're going to click on groups, and then we're going to add a new group. I'm going to call this group allow all phones outbound. And we're going to give it a group number. And that group number is the one that's currently associated to the Touch. And it says this number is currently being used by Cody McCallum. It will be removed from this user if you proceed, and that's okay because that's what we want to do. Now there's a few ways on how it handles calls. So we have simultaneous and then we have sequential. I'm going to have mine simultaneous, and we're going to have to add the members into the group. So this will be the members that we want to be in this group that use this phone number. So I'm going to click on add members, and then we're just going to assign it to everybody here and press assign. The next one is for unanswered calls, and there's a couple different things that we could do. We have global send to voicemail, we have send to voicemail, or we could drop the call. If we had an auto attendant set up, we could also send it to that, and we will set up a smart attendant shortly. For me, I'm just going to have a global voicemail sending to my account, and we're going to have the normal global ringback. And this is what the ringback sounds like. You can choose from the list whichever one you like, or you could upload your own ringback. I'm just going to press apply changes, and this group should be applied to all my phones. Now, if we look back at all of our devices, you could see that one number is assigned to everybody. So if I call into this number, all 4 of the phones are going to ring. So let's do that. So you should hear the phone going off shortly. And as you could hear, a bunch of the phones are ringing, so these will all go at the same time. Now, in most cases, you're just going to have it ring one phone, maybe your reception phone or an auto attendant. So let's get the smart attendant set up. On the left pane, we can see smart attendant. So I'm going to click on that and it says meet your smart attendant. Your smart attendant will help you manage multiple business lines and allow incoming calls to use voice and dial commands to ensure that they always connect with the right person. To get started, what would you like to name your smart attendant? And I'll just call it Mac Telecom. And then we'll press next. So currently we have no numbers selected, but we're going to want to select the one Unifi Talk number that we have, which is this one right here. We could give the smart attendant an extension if we'd like so that we could call it. I'll just give it 0010. And we also have that ringback, which I'm just going to leave at the default, but you could change that if you'd like. We also have hold music, which shows a whole bunch of different ones. I'm going to press the global default and see what it sounds like. Depending on your taste, you might want to change it to something else, but I'll leave that at the default and press next. On step 3, it says, will your smart attendant work differently based on business hours? And you could press yes or no. If you press yes, you're going to specify your business hours from 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. And then off business hours, you could have another attendant saying something else, saying that you're closed or something like that. I'm just going to leave it on no and then press next. Step 4, we have, do you want to enable extension dialing? When enabled, callers can dial an extension to connect with the user or group without going through the smart attendant menus. Would you like to have this? I'm going to say yes, that's fine. People could do that if they know the extension already. And then we have our extension dialing configuration. It's smart attendant ring menus, all ring destinations, or you could have a custom list. I'm going to do all ring destinations and press next. On step 5, it says, what do you want your smart attendant to say when they answer? And we have 2 different voices. So we have a voice 1 and voice 2. And under the greetings, we could generate one by typing in whatever you'd want. We could record one or we could upload one. I'm going to create my own generated greeting. So it will be hello, welcome to Mac Telecom Networks. And then we can see the greeting preview will change. Let's press play and see what it sounds like.
Hello, welcome to Mac Telecom Networks.
And that for me is fine. If you want to choose the second voice, you can, and we'll see what that generates.
Hello, welcome to Mac Telecom Networks.
After we're happy with how the smart attendant sounds, we could press next. Now, step 6 will be different for every business. Do you want your smart attendant to direct calls based on the caller's key press? Yes or no? I'm going to say yes. And on key press 1, we're going to have it go to sales. And that's going to go to YouTube test 1. For key press 2, we're going to have that marketing. And we're going to have that go to YouTube test 2. And for 3, we'll have it support. And that will go to YouTube test 3. And then we'll press finish. So you can see how the smart attendant just automatically sets up our call tree. And we could also listen to the key presses. So let's play them.
Press 2 for marketing. Press 3 for support.
Now say there was multiple different businesses running off of this Unifi OS console and we wanted to have a smart attendant for the other business's phone number. We could do that by adding a smart attendant up at the top and associating it with their business number. Now before we go on to configure a third-party SIP, let's take a look at some of the settings within Unifi Talk. At the top, we have our numbers and subscriptions. You would see that I'm just on the trial, but we could activate that subscription. If you want to get another number, you could scroll down and purchase a phone number and then enter in the location that you're at and purchase that number. If you want to port your number, you could also do that here as well. So we could click on port number. It will bring you down one tab and you're either going to port from Twilio or port from another carrier. If you're porting from another carrier, you're going to need your last bill and some other information. Now this identity tab is something new and this is for stir, shake, and trusted calling. And you need to have a business license to be able to do this. If you're using Unifi Talk in your residential house, you can't do this as of yet. And we could also do CNAME branded callings. I'm not going to be able to set this up as Unifi Talk isn't available in Canada yet, but once it is, we will do a video just on the identity part. Under call settings, this is where we're going to do our ringback, our hold music, and we could upload our own audio if we'd like. We could also do custom audio with repeating messages. Under additional settings, we have call recording. If we hover over the eye icon, it says automatically record all calls and store them in your call log. If we click on enable, it will bring us up with this notification saying that you must check with your local laws. to see if you're able to record calls. And then we have a failover redirect number. And what this does, it says set a redirect number in case your Unifi Talk application, Unifi OS console, or internet connection goes offline. All calls to your talk number will be forwarded to this number. And I think this is great. So if you have a power outage, people and customers could still reach you. And then below that, we have call blocking rules, so we could block different numbers if we want to put those in. Next, we have our global voicemail settings. So we have voicemail enabled. If you want to have voicemail instructions, you could do that. And then we have voicemail timeout. So it's 6 rings or 30 seconds by default, but you could set this to any range you want. Under global contacts, we could either upload a CSV or we could add contacts. And then we have our emergency calling. The emergency calling is what we set up at the beginning for us if we dial 911 for the emergency services to know where to go. Now, under our system settings, we have our uptime, we have the owner, we have the talk support file, we have the audio data export, we have a reset talk application, we have a debug logging, we have telephony debug logging, and then we have static signaling port. So this next section, what we're going to do, I'm going to set up a third-party SIP provider, and the SIP provider that I use is VoIP MS. I do have an affiliate link down below. They do have a written step-by-step guide, and I will put that in the link below as well. So I'm going to add a third-party SIP provider. I'm going to call them VoIP MS. And now we need to add a bunch of different custom fields. And this will be different for every different SIP provider that you use. So we're going to click on add field, and I'm going to need to input proxy. We'll have to put in realm, password, register, username, SIP caller ID type, retry seconds, and then expire seconds. And once those are all in, we'll press done. Now that we have this information in, we need to fill it out. So our proxy is going to be our VoIP MS POP server. And the proxy POP server that I'm using is toronto7.voip.ms. The realm, we're going to have it as the same. And then the password is the password that you use on your account. Register is going to equal true. And then the username is the account number for VoIP MS. If you're using somebody else, it might be a name. The SIP CID type is going to be RDP. The retry seconds will be 30, and then the expire seconds will be 120. Next thing we need to add is the destination countries. So specify which countries you want routed through the SIP provider. So I'm going to select countries. I'm going to say United States and Canada. Now this next section is to manually import your numbers. So this is your DID, which you want to put in, and mine starts with 647. So now that I have my number in there, we need to press the plus icon for it to be able to take. Now under the IP address range, we're going to add the IP address range, and this is going to be the IP of the POP server. So if we bring up a command line, and then I try to ping the toronto7.voip.ms, this is what we're going to want, this number here. I'll paste it in, and it's going to be a /32 because it's just one IP address. Now with that done, I'm going to press apply changes. Now if we take a look at VoIP MS, since this is a registered SIP account, we could see that I'm connected to toronto7.voip.ms, and we could see the state is registered. If you've input something incorrectly, this won't show registered. So now what I need to do, I need to associate this phone number with the phone. Now we're back at Unifi Talk, and I've removed myself from that group. So right now we could only do internal callings, and we want to set this user up with that VoIP MS number. So I'm going to click on the user, and we're going to go over to settings. Under settings, we could see number, and it's showing none. So I'm going to click on the drop-down menu. And we could see that 1647 number is showing up. That's from VoIP MS. Once we've selected the number, I'm going to press apply changes. Once we've applied the changes, we could select our outgoing number, and we only have the one, which is our 647 number. So I'll select it, and then we'll press apply changes again. Now, just to test that the phone's working, I'm going to call it. And you could hear that it is ringing. So that VoIP MS third-party SIP is currently working. The last thing we'll touch on for this video is voicemail. And for YouTube test 1, I've associated an email with it. Let's click on this user. So under voicemail, we could see we have different greetings. So I could select, I could either record, upload, or I could generate. So let's generate one. It currently says, hello, you have reached YouTube test 1. Please leave a message and your contact information, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. I like that, so I'm just going to leave it, and we'll press save greeting. Now, one really cool feature with Unifi Talk, you could have this sent to your email, and you could also have it transcribe. And how we do that, we need to go back to our settings, and then we need to click on notifications. Under notifications, we have voicemail, and we could either have it send to Microsoft Teams, Slack, or email. I'm going to have it sent to my email, and then we'll show additional settings. Under additional settings, we could have recording and transcriptions, or we could have unread voicemails only. I'm going to have both of these checked off, and I'm going to call into that YouTube test one, leave a voicemail, and it should go to the email address. All right, and now you can see you have a new voicemail, and it's saying who it's from, it's saying to, and the length that it was, and the day it was received. And we could also see the transcription where I'm saying YouTube test 123, YouTube test 123. They also have a voicemail MP3 attached. Let's download it and then listen.
YouTube test 123, YouTube test 123.
So that's going to be it for this full video setup of Unifi Talk for 2023. There are still a few things that are missing, like a Unifi Talk mobile app. I think that would be really great. Also, to be able to have some remote users being able to use phones and tying back to your phone system. If you have any questions about this video, please leave it in the comments below. If you like this video, hit the thumbs up button. If you're new here, please subscribe and hit the bell icon. All right, thanks.